43% of restaurant calls go unanswered. That's around $380,000 in lost revenue with just 30 missed calls every single day. But what if you can build a system that could actually take your order, process the payment, and inject your POS systems all automatically? Well, I know because I've done it. Hi, my name is Edmund Chen, and we've been working with a $250 million restaurant chain with over 200 locations in North America to build a very similar system. Today, I'm actually going to show you how to build a complete AI voice ordering system. Not just the voice part where the YouTube gurus show you with all the Google Sheets, but actually a complete order system from the order processing, order collection, to payment processing and POS injection. First, I'll show you a full demo. Then, I'll actually walk you through the high-level workflow. Next, I'll actually build you step-by-step live together with you. And if you want my agency to implement something very similar for your restaurant, you can use the link in the description to book a free discovery call with me and my team. If you're new to this channel and don't know who I am, my name is Edmund Chen, and I've been running my own AI company, Legacy AI, where we've been helping different service brands improve their sales and customer retention through different conversational AI systems like the one you see in this video.
Hey there, this is Alice from Domino's. What can I get started for you today?
Hey, can I just get an order of pepperoni pizza, please?
Absolutely. What size pepperoni pizza would you like?
Yeah, can I get a large one?
Alright, so I've got one large pepperoni feast for $19.99. Sound good?
Yeah, that's fine.
Perfect. I'll just need some info to get this order placed. What's your first and last name?
Yeah, so it's Tom Smith. Yeah.
Great, Tom. And what's the best phone number for this order?
Yeah, so it's 749-2421-378.
Thanks. And where are we delivering to? I'll need the address and zip code.
Yeah, so it's 123 High Street. The zip code is SW55658.
Just send a secure payment link to your phone. Did you get it?
Yep, I just got it.
Perfect. Go ahead and open that link to complete the payment. I'll hang tight right here.
Okay.
Just let me know when you're all done.
Yeah, give me a sec.
No worries at all. Take your time. Just let me know when you're all set.
Alright, done.
Great. Sending this straight to the kitchen now. All set. Your order's confirmed and should arrive in no time. Thanks so much, Tom. Have an awesome night.
Thanks, bye. Okay, so I'm going to show you step by step how we actually think about building something like this. So the first thing you want to do is go to voice flow. And before you even do anything, remember, this is a voice agent, right? So the agent, the AI should ideally have context or information about the users and the agent phone number. So what we're going to be doing is literally go to logic, set step, and here you can see like set variables. Just click plus and click on value. Now you want the agent to know the user phone number. So you can just add a variable called user number. And inside here, you can set the user number to a value, right? So in this case, in voice flow, there's this very specific syntax that you can put in. It's something called last event. So last event, as you see, I've done it here. Last event is basically literally the last event that's happening within voice flow, right? So last event dot payload dot user number. Now remember, this is an application where it's an inbound voice caller, so that the other people, the customers, are calling the agent, right? So this basically, the user number is the customer's number. The customers are calling to your AI agent. So last event dot payload dot user number basically tells VoiceFlow that, hey, this is the customer's phone number. The same thing, exact same thing, if you just literally duplicate, right, this step, the exact same thing can be done with the agent number. With the agent number, you just call it an agent number. And it's exactly the same, last event dot payload dot agent number. And now the voice flow will have the information of the AI agent phone number, aka the virtual phone number. We'll talk about how we set up like a Twilio number in a second. Now, ideally, the agent should also have context what today's date and time is. The way you do that now with VoiceFlow is very, very convenient. All you have to do is call a variable, create a variable, again, use another set step, set today as VF now. Now, VF now will give you the date and time of today. There's multiple variables that VoiceFlow has designed. You've got the VoiceFlow date. You've got the VoiceFlow day. Remember that this is slightly different, of course. The month, the time, the user time zone, and the year, right? And the most convenient way to represent all that information is just VF now. Now, we have set up kind of the preemptive variables. It's just fetching today's date time, the user, and the agent phone number. Now, we're ready to build our first agent, which is using, of course, the agent step. Click New Agent. And this is here where you can write the prompt of the entire agent. Now, let me explain to you the context and all the different moving pieces before we even dive into building this agent. Now, as you probably know, I'm not going to be using Google Sheets. I'm going to be using kind of a common commerce software that has a POS, has a payment system that can handle most of these stuff that most businesses, that quite a lot of businesses, I would say, actually use. It's actually called Square. Now, I know, if you're a restaurant owner seeing this, Square might not be the best software to be using for restaurant. I know that because of custom orders. We'll explain that in a bit. But unfortunately, a lot of the industry-leading POS systems that modernized POS systems, like Toast, for example, has a closed API, meaning that you have to be a partner with them in order to get access to the API documentations in order to work with it. Now, the application can take like a month or something. So unfortunately, I'm not a partner with Toast. I'm getting there, but not quite there yet. So for now, for illustrative purposes, I'm going to be using Square, which is, again, a popular platform for commerce, like e-commerce, retail stores to actually use that for payment, invoices, points of sales, terminal API, payments, bookings, etc. So very popular too. And yeah, it has different API documentations. All you have to do is go to developersquareup.com and actually create an account. Once you create an account, you'll be in here, right? All you have to do is to create an application, right? Create an application. Click on that, name your application, next, and then you can just kind of skip, and then you can just kind of create an application this way, right? There you go. You just created your first Square application. We will be using that as our basically management system, or if you call it like CRM, if you would. But I'll say it's a very retail specific CRM, right? It also acts as a retail store if you want, right? Like Shopify. So it depends on what your use case is. Now, I've already created an app ID. So all you have to do is click open and click. Right. Now you're inside the applications. Now, for the purposes of this video, we're going to be using the sandbox environment, right? So this is the sandbox environment, aka it's not live. Obviously, in the production, you'll want to use the production, right? The sandbox environment, right? And you have the application ID and you have the access tokens. Now, let me explain a little bit on the high level picture what we're doing. We are using Square to store, first of all the manual items and catalogs in Domino's. So we've got a Domino's pizza menu, right? There's actually a way inside Square to actually upload all these different items. All you have to do is go to app.squaresandbox.com, which you've just created the app, and then you'll be in this sandbox environment. All you have to do is click on item and services, click on items, and then just click on item library. Now, I've already gone ahead and upload like the Domino's pizza menu in here. So you can see like you've got like 6 cheese, barbecue chicken, you've got like different sizes, and you've got all the different prices, for example. To do that, all you have to do is basically you need to download a template, right? So you need to create, you can go ahead and create an item one by one. You can do that like one by one, and you just need to type all your information in manually. Or within Square, you can actually download, like export your menu as a spreadsheet, as a Google Sheet, and then upload the entire Google Sheet with the columns of item, category, stock, price, etc. like in one go, in one bulk upload. Now, you can go ahead and do it for any menu. I'll leave that up to you. But for now, we're going to be using Domino's, right? Once you have all the items within here, within their item library, this is where it gets interesting. Now, the reason why we didn't just plug the entire menu into, let's say, the prompt of the agent, right, inside the agent, is because, well, prices changes quite often. It depends on, again, it depends on your specific restaurant, right? You can have menus that changes very often. You might have noticed that, oh yeah, Brooklyn pizza, Canadian pizza, etc. They might change the names, they might change the categories, they might change sizes, not really, but like they might change the price exactly quite often, right? So it's just good practice in general to not store your menus entirely inside the prompt of the agent, because then you will have to go to the prompt of the agent and actually go edit it yourself, right? Whereas here, now you can just ask the agent every time to fetch real-time information, stock information about the specific, let's say, items, food items you have within here, within the item library, right? So that's the advantage. So the high-level overview, let me explain a little bit about like the agent, right? So you have the voice agent as the first layer of conversations with the user. So let me kind of explain to you how we think about structuring the prompt of this agent. First of all, you have the role. You basically say, you're Alex, a senior order helper at Domino. Your sole purpose is to guide the user through ordering pizza from a predefined menu, processing the payments, and confirming their order of the kitchen, right? You must adhere to the following SOP, right? And basically, this is just setting a role like how the AI should act. Again, because this is a voice application, we should have some voice and tone guidelines. This is very basic guidelines. Feel free to expand upon that. You can just say, hey, this is a voice conversation, get responses natural, conversational, and concise, right? Use contractions, etc. This is an important part. This is how you define your SOP one by one by one by one. Very, very structured. Step 1, step 2, step 3, right? Very clearly, the agent will be able to follow these kind of instructions, right? So you got step 1, greetings and initial triage. Greet the user warmly and naturally as if answering the phone, right? It's very common to be like, hey there, this is Alex from Domino's. Well, what can I get started for you today, right? So you're being inviting, right? So you're trying to ask them, okay, what do you want to order today? Very natural. Step 2, the voice agent is going to gather the information. Now, usually in a pizza shop, you have the custom order, right? Like basically you have a base pizza and then you just kind of select your own toppings. Or in Domino's, you have something called feast pizza, which are predefined pizza like pepperoni, Hawaiian, barbecue chicken, etc., right? For the purposes of this video, we're only going to be doing with like templated pizza, aka feast pizza. Now, there's a way to do custom pizzas, but it's more complicated in this video. So maybe I can do that in the next video or something, right? To go over that. But for now, let's just focus on the feast pizza. You must ask the specific name of the pizza and the desired size, but do not list out all of them, simply ask the size, right? You must gather both pieces of information before proceeding. You need to also extract the number of pizzas the user wants. For example, I want 2 barbecue chicken pizzas. I want 5 pepperoni pizzas, right? And if you don't get the information, you must get those information. This is just information gathering. Step 3, you search through the menu. Now, inside an AI agent, inside the agent step, you can add what we call a tool. A tool basically allows the agent, the AI agent, to actually do real-world actions. In this example, with the search menu tool, all you have to do is click Tool, click on API Call, create API tool. From here, you can just name your tool whatever you want. I'll just call this demo, right, etc. Right. I'm just going to delete that. But from here, I've already added in a tool called Search Menu tool. So what this tool does, you just put in the description. Use this tool to find any pizza on the menu. It takes a pizza name, size, and an optional list of toppings, and then returns its official details, price, and unique ID from the Square catalog. This is what I meant by fetching the real-time stock information from Square and inject it as context to the agent, right? So you've got the pizza name, which I just called the variable pizza name, and the size of the pizza, which is the requested size, is either large, small, medium, or extra large, right? And basically in the prompt, I'm basically just say, once you've gathered the necessary information, you must immediately call the search menu tool and then pass the collected information into the pizza name and size parameters of the tool, right? So you go ahead and click on the search menu. From here, you will just need to type in your input variables inside this tool. The pizza name, again, the name of the pizza, size, the requested size. Now, in order for this flow to work, you will need to do an API or an automation workflow from VoiceFlow to Square. And normally we can just either write a function, which would be easier, but that requires code. So in order to do this kind of in a no-code way, so you guys understand, I have to use a tool that I haven't been using for quite a while, to be honest. It's called Make.com. So Make.com, if you didn't know, it is a no-code automation platform, or workflow platform that allows you to build kind of structured automation, like, for example, sending API requests to Square and fetching the information from Square and then getting it back to VoiceFlow, for example, right? So all you have to do is go to Make.com, and then you will have like a canvas where you can start doing automation workflows. Now, the advantage of using Make.com is that they already have, if you go to add module, they already have a built-in Square module that you can use, like get a customer, update a customer, get orders, create an order, search order, watch orders, right? Get a payment, etc. This is really convenient. But for me, it took me such a long time to like figure this out because I never use Make.com in production. But just to show you guys, like I have to actually create an account, like a free account, and show you guys how to do that. So the way you would do that is you want to add a custom webhook, right? So you just go to webhook and you click on custom webhook. And you just click add, you just click save, and then you would just copy the address to clipboard, which is this address. And all you have to do is go back to your search menu tools and paste the link, the webhook, into this API. And you just select post API because you're sending information from VoiceFlow to Make.com, right? And the next thing that you want to do after that is go to Square. And then you want to go and choose the module, make an API call. Now, all you have to do is make a connection to Square Sandbox. And from here, you will need a connection name, which you can just name whatever you want. And you will need the Sandbox access token. Now, if you've been paying attention, it can be found in your dashboard, right? This is your Sandbox access token. You just need to copy that and actually paste in here and click save, right? This is how you connect. This is how you connect to Square. I've already gone ahead and connected, so I'm not going to do that. Now, from here, method, you just need to select post. And from here, from the headers, you need to justify what kind of content you're doing, right? So you're doing content type, application, JSON. And then from the authorization, you will need an API key. Right, so you need to go to authorization and paste in your API key. Now, I highly encourage you to actually go through the API docs yourself. And the API docs that we're going to be using, sorry, just 1 second, is this. It's the Search Catalog Items API. Go to this link right here, Catalog API. And here you will see all the information you need to build it out. So you can literally just copy this, right? You see the URL, you got the post, you got the authorization, you need the bearer access token, right? You need the content type application JSON. And then from here, you will also need to paste in the body, right, of the catalog. So let me show you how to do that. So the way to do that actually is really simple. All we need to do is a text filter, aka what query are we searching, right? So in that case, it will be pizza name because we're trying to fetch the live information of the specific pizza the customer is ordering, right? So that is why we kind of need the input to be the pizza name and the size. So if I say I want a large pepperoni pizza, it will know pizza name as pepperoni and size be large. And therefore, it can send information to the webhook, right, to Make.com. And it will have the information then, as in here, the pizza name, as you can see, is barbecue chicken, size is large. And I'm just going to drag pizza name into the Make.com flow, right? And I will just have text filter, pizza name, limit 10. That basically tells Square to fetch me all the relevant information about this specific pizza, right? So if I go ahead and just run this module, and I just put in barbecue chicken, you can see that it's actually returning. If you go to the body, you go to the items, you will see that it actually is returning a lot of the information. You go to item data, you see you've got the name, you've got the description, you've got the prototype, right? You've got the different variations, right? You've got obviously the different sizes, right? You've got the different sizes information, you've got the categories, etc. Right? So you got all the relevant live information about this specific product. Then, because there are 4 sizes, there's small, medium, large, and extra large. So the way to do that is to split them out. And we only want to fetch the relevant information for the large pizza, right? So the way that we do that is basically have an iterator that basically can check if the size, right, returned from this API call is large. And to do that, you just click on module, and you go to flow control iterator, right? And from here, you just need to specify the array, which in this case, you would just basically have the item data variations, which you can just click from here, items, and then you can drag from item data, and you can drag the entire thing here within the array. What this does is basically split the 4 things that I just shown you, the 4 sizes variations, and split them into 4 different separate bundles, right? This is the iterator. And now, after you've set up the iterator, what you actually want to do is actually link it back to the webhook response. So you go to webhook, you go to webhook response. Now, the reason why is because you need to send the information back to VoiceFlow, right? Now you've gathered the information, right? You send the request from VoiceFlow. You've made an API call to Square to retrieve all the relevant information about this specific pizza, right? You retrieve all the relevant information. You then split the information into 4 discrete packets or bundles, if you will. And now you just need to return the correct information. You just need to return the information of the pizza that matches the size the user actually wants. AKA, if I request a large pizza, I should only return the data of the large barbecue pizza, right? And the way you do that is you go ahead and you click this little widget here, that actually sets up a filter. So from here, you can just call it whatever you want, just call it like size. And then you can just, from the condition, you can just be like, oh, hey, from the body, like, sorry, not here, because I haven't actually set up the body here. But from here, you can see that, well, after you run the flow control, you can see there's an item variation data name, AKA the size, right? The size has to be equals to the initial size from the voice flow that we got from the webhook, right? So you just drag it, you literally just would drag it and put it in here. Now, the problem with that is that there's like, for some reason, VoiceFlow has like a white space in front of the large. So to make that work, you have to trim all the white spaces and just have the letter L in there. And the way you do that is pretty simple. You just go to the function, right? You just go to function and you just click trim, and you just drag the trim function around the size. And that will automatically trim out all the white spaces from here. So this filter means that only the size of the bundles that you retrieve from the iterator matches with the size requested from the webhook. Only then does it actually pass through to the webhook to send information back to VoiceFlow. Now, obviously, you need to specify what kind of information to go back to VoiceFlow, right? So I've gone ahead and actually written the JSON, which is, first of all, you let VoiceFlow know the status is success, right? You return the item name, right? Just from going back to the body, item, and then you got the item data, you got the name, barbecue chicken, you just drag it. You got this item size, right? You got the item size, which is the one returned from the iterator, not from the Square, because the Square, remember, has 4 sizes, whereas the one that passes through the filter that we just set up only has 1 size, right? So you just drag it and put it in here. And then you got the price, right? So the price, the way you do that again is only through the iterator, the one price, which is the price money amount, right? And by the way, this is 4 digits. Obviously, this is not 2,389 pounds for pizza, right? It's 23 pounds. Now, the reason why this is wrong is because it's not really wrong. It's just the way the Square works is that you need to divide it by 100. So the way you do that is you drag the price money amount, you drag here, and then you divide it by 100. But then problem is you need to pass it to a number. And the way you do that is, again, use the built-in function within make.com, which is pass number, you drag it around here. This basically converts this data format to be number, right? Into number. And the 2 here just means like round it to the nearest 2 decimal points. So if I got the number 2389, right? If I do pass number and I divide the thing by 100, I round it to the 2 closest 2 decimal points. That means that I'm going to be getting the price as 23.89, right? Which is what we want. So hopefully that makes sense with the maths, right? And then you got the variation ID, which is just good to get in general, right? Which is if you go to the variation ID, like you just click on the ID, you got the item ID, which is this here. You got the SKU, like this is not actually not needed, but I just show you that you're allowed to, if you want to do something custom with it, that's how you do it. And you just click save. And from here, from onwards, whenever this tool is being called from VoiceFlow, aka VoiceFlow is calling the search menu tool, it's going to go ahead, call this Mick.com workflow. If the user say, I want a large pepperoni pizza, it's going to go ahead and fetch all the metadata, all the data about live information like the price for the large pepperoni pizza, filter the size that the user actually wants, aka large, and return those information into VoiceFlow. And the way that you capture response, by the way, is you go to capture response VoiceFlow, you click plus, and you just click the object, right? Remember, the object has to match from Mick.com, meaning the object that you specify here, like status, item name, item size, price, variation ID, item ID, and SKU, those have to match exactly like here. So the way that you define it is I call it item name, I spell it exactly the same as the Mick.com. I have the variation ID, the item ID, the SKU, the price, the item size, and the status, right? So now VoiceFlow, I save it to the variable. So now VoiceFlow has context of all these different variables as we speak, right? You do the search menu call. You now pass to collect the information of the tool. And now, once you get the information, you move to step 4, which is what do? You present the information and await confirmation, right? So if the search menu tools return a status equals to success, right, you must present the validated item name, size, and the price to the user, right? So, hey, by the way, I just checked. We've got, one large pepperoni feast for $99.99. Does that sound good? And if they say yes, correct, or perfect, then you go, right? Just confirmation. Now, you have an error handling. If the search menu tool doesn't return anything, you must relay the message from the tool's output to the user naturally. Like, I'm not seeing that one on the menu. Want to try something else? If they do, restart the process for step 1, right? This is just error handling. Now, after the user confirm what they want. Now, I know, right now, if you're asking like, hey, Edwin, what if the user actually wants to order another thing, right? What happens then? I will explain it towards the end of the video. But for now, let's assume the user is just going to order one item for now. The customer information gathering, right? So after the user confirms the order details from step 4, you must ask for the details to attach to the order, right? So you must learn to keep it natural and conversational. Be like, perfect, I will just need some info to get this order placed. You just ask for the first and last name. You get the first phone number to get the order, where we're delivering to, only the address and the zip code, and then collect all the information, right? Like the first name, last name, phone number, address, and zip code, right? Just pretty much information gathering, which you just saw in the demo. Now, this is coming the difficult part. It's what we call payment processing. Once you've collected customer details, you must then call the create payment tool. Again, I'm calling another tool call, which is another Mick.com flow. You pass the collected information into the first name, last name, phone number, address, and set parameters, which is the customer's information. You also must use the variation ID, aka the unique ID of the item that you just passed from Mick.com to the VoiceFlow, and the price returned from the search menu to you as input for this call. So you keep them informed, right? So they're saying, awesome, so let me just get you a secure payment link to set you up real quick, right? So you've got the create payment tool, and you use this tool only after users confirm their order and price. It takes the unique variation ID and price to generate a secure Square payment link, right? So you got the input variables, which is the item name, obviously, like what the item is, the price, which you just fetch from Square. The variation ID, again, which you just fetch from Square from the previous tool. You need the quantity, right, which the user will specify, the first name and last name, phone number, because what we're doing basically is we're going to do an API call to Square, and Square will automatically generate a secure payment link and send it as a text message to the user. So the user then would just go on the text message link and actually go order the pizza, right? You got the zip code and address, right? That's it. And if you go inside the create payment tool, again, it's the same input variables that you just have to type it again, which is, yeah. And then from here, we're doing another Mick.com tool, right? So if I just go ahead and delete all of that. So what we're going to be doing now is actually a different tool that we're doing, which is a create payment tool. Same again, you create your webhook, you copy your webhook URL again into this API call, then you define the body of what information you want to send to the payment API, right? You want to send the address, you want to send the zip, you want to send the phone number, you want to send the names, quantity, item name, price, variation ID. You send all the information back in here, right? And you get to Square again. But from here, you actually want to use a predefined Square module, which is create a customer, right? You just need to connect to it, which I've shown you how to do it already. So once you connect to it, you can just match what you sent from VoiceFlow, which is these information, which is exactly the information inside this webhook, right? Because you've set up the webhook to send information from VoiceFlow to make.com. You just need to drag the information, first name, last name. We got the address, right? You got the zip code, phone number, country, just put in GB, because I'm in the UK, so put in GB, US, you just put in US, right? Etc. These are the information we need. And what will happen here is that this Square object will automatically create a customer object inside Square. So you can just right click, run this module, right? I can just put in like some random number, right? 123 High Street, Smith, Tom, right? If I click OK, oops, invalid no number. Oh yeah, I should probably put in like a proper number. Last name Smith, Tom, address 123 High Street. All right, so you see it successfully creates a customer, right? So if you go check it back in Square, let me go back to the dashboard. You go back to customers, you go to customer directory. This is where you can see all the different customers, right? This is just some testing that I did. And you can see when this was created. So Tom Smith, if I go to here, let's say if it's the one that we just created on 7th of November. Yeah, so this is the one that I just created, right? So this is where you can actually have notes, files, etc. You can even go further, right? You can have the entire customer profile in here, right? So this is where you can store all the customer information inside Square. And from there, then you can actually go ahead and create the order and the payment link by actually calling another API, right? And that will be the create payment link API. I recommend you, again, have a read through the docs if you want. Again, you basically can just read through what we can request for the body. So what you can do, again, is connect to you go to this URL called V2 online checkout payment links, which again, if you go to the page, you can just copy it from here, right? This is the URL. It's a post request. Again, put in your content type, application JSON, authorization, you have bearer, and then your access token, right? I'm not going to do too much into that. And then the body is the important part. Now, there's a key. This is optional. You can enter it if you want in the real production setting. You definitely want to use one. But for now, it's a sandbox environment, so we don't need it. This is just to uniquely identify this request, right? Nothing more. And then you'd specify an order object, which is the location ID. Now, the location ID basically depends on where you've set up your location. And then you will need the location ID. The location ID depends on where you've set up your Square account. For me, it's in the UK, so it has this unique location ID. The way that you can get that is actually, it's a little bit tricky, is you have to go to this link, which is developersquareapp.com, list locations. And from here, you can just put in your locations, right? So if my location is run request, right? If I have the location, I just need to list locations. I'll just say my location is select your account, which is this voice demo. And then from here, you just need to run request. And then from here, it will return the location ID. So you just need to go to this link and connect to your sandbox environment or your production environment, depends on where you are. This is the access token. So you just need to list all the locations here and then use this API to retrieve the ID and then copy that ID back in here. Again, you will have the name, which is the item name, which is the pepperoni pizza, which is why you're getting this from the voice flow. You get the quantity. This is all, by the way, 111 because I just put some random numbers in just now, right? So in reality, this should be pepperoni pizza. The quantity, right? The quantity, how much they want. This should actually be dynamic. So it should be here. Yep, you just need to drag it here. You got the base price money variables, which is the amount, how much you should charge the customer. Again, this is from the price variable that we have earlier. Remember, with Square, the tricky part is it's all you will always need to multiply by 100 if you're sending requests towards the Square system. If you're extracting information from the Square system, then you need to divide by 100. That's just how, unfortunately, how Square works, right? You'll need to pass the number. You'll define your currency. For me, it's GBP, it could be USD, right? And then there you go. You have your object. And if you run this will create a dynamic payment link that you can just use. Let me just try that right now. You got BBQ chicken, quantity run, let's say $23.99, right? And from here, as you can see, if you go to the body, payment link, you can see there is a payment link that you can go. So I'm just going to copy that and just to see how it looks like. So this is what the user is going to get. Obviously, this is kind of a sandbox environment, right? This is a sandbox environment. It's going to look different in production environment. But essentially, the customer is going to see this, and then you just click preview link, right? This is what the customer see, right? You got the item, the amount, and then you can just check out, contact, etc. And you just pay, right? And we just skip it for now, right? Test payment. And this is the sandbox environment of basically testing it. Let's say the test payment was successful, right? And then you just preview checkout, right? You're ready to check out, right? So that's no problem. So the way that you can see that work in real time is actually you can go back to Square. You go back to payments invoice, you go to order, and you click on overview. And you can see just now on 7th of November, this is exactly the order that we just created, right? With the barbecue chicken, like that object that we create. Now, the reason why the name is set Jane Doe is because we haven't actually put in our card details inside the payment, right? This is just a text sandbox account. So that's why you can't actually pay. So that's why it's using the default name. But in production, in the real settings, this will be the customer's name after they basically paid through the payment link. Now, obviously you can't do the payment link here on the browser, you have to do it through your phone, right? So the way that this worked in the demo basically is that you need a way for the customers to get to the link and actually do it on their phone. How did they do that? Well, this I'll explain in literally a sec. But now you have all the information. You want to send back to VoiceFlow the variables, the payment URL, which you can go back to payment link, the long URL, or the link both works. You can just go to URL and drag here, the specific order ID, right? The order ID of this, drag it here. And this will basically send VoiceFlow all the information it needs. It will send VoiceFlow, if you go back to the capture response of this tool, you'll get the status, which is success, the payment link, and the payment order ID, right? So now VoiceFlow knows the payment link. Now, you need to send the payment link through the SMS to the user for them to actually pay. And therefore, we have another tool called send SMS. If and only if the create payment tool successfully returns, you must immediately call the send SMS tool, right? You must use the payment link from the previous step and the phone number the user provided as inputs. And the way you do that from VoiceFlow is actually really simple. We actually use something called Twilio. And the way you do that is click on integration, Twilio, and send SMS. So the way you do that is going into Twilio, right? And from here, you have your account SID, off token, etc. So this is just a bunch of settings. I'm not going to go too much how to connect Twilio. Like you can just go to manage, go to Twilio, manage, and then you can just manage the connection here and just paste in essentially the auth ID and also the account SID, right? This is how you can actually put Twilio inside the agent. And inside Twilio, all you have to do now is essentially get a phone number. You just go to number, manage, and then you just go to buy a number. And then from here, you can just go ahead and buy a number this way. So once that's done, then you can just connect to Twilio, and then you can just select from, which is the agent number, to the user number, right? Which is the user number that you capture, and the body will be the payment link. So you're basically using this tool to send a text SMS containing the payment link to the user's phone. And that's how I got the message, and therefore that's how customer can pay through the payment link, right? And after this has been sent to the user, right, and you basically have the, where was that? The send SMS. After send, you must confirm with the user and provide instruction like, do you get it, right? And the user will say yes or no. If they haven't, just retry. If they have, perfect. Go ahead and open that link and complete the payment, and it'll just be there. And let me know when we all done, right? So this is the send SMS. after the user has paid through the payment link that you just send them through the SMS, then step 9, which is the final POS injection, where you're calling another tool. If and only if the user confirms they've completed payment, you must immediately call this tool. You must use the order ID that you retrieve from the payment tool as the input. Right. So basically what this does is just confirming that the user has actually paid and the status is basically successful, right? And the way you do that is go to inject you just go create another tool called inject POS. Use this tool as the final step only after the user states they've paid. It takes the order ID, confirms the payment, and finalizes the order in the POS. Now, the good thing about Square, using Square, is that it's actually automatically synced. You can set it up so that it's automatically synced between the backend, which is the order catalog that you just saw earlier, and also the POS that you purchased for the Square POS system. It's all synced through the cloud. So this is a very convenient way to just directly confirming an order, right? And the way you do that is you need the order ID, which we just passed from Make.com. You click on the tool. Again, you have another Make.com flow. And to do that, basically, you need to go back here and we need to create this specific flow. Again, you will have the webhook that you set up that you can just paste in here. We've been through this already. And the only input that it takes is the order ID. So it go to the Square and you retrieve the get order node, right? So go to Square and then you go get orders, right? This is the node that you want. Oops. And from here, you just need to connect to your account and you just need to paste in the order ID. That's the only information that you need, the order ID that you just got from your create payment workflow. Then you retrieve the ID, and if the user has already paid it, the state will be open, right? And therefore, if the state is open, you basically add in the router step. So a router, effectively flow control, router. So router split the flow into two possibilities, right? I'm just going to delete that. So basically, it's an if condition. So if the status, right? If I just go ahead and copy that. Oh, I can't copy that. Never mind. But basically, if the status is like open, that means that the user has actually paid. Then you just go ahead and say like success, and then you just give them an estimated time if you want. This is optional. But if the user actually hasn't paid, right, then the status will be pending. And if the status is pending, that means that it's not confirmed yet as an order, right? This is kind of like an idealistic kind of like a sandbox kind of setup that we have. Of course, it can get slightly more complicated than that depending on use case. But hopefully this gives you the general idea of how you can think about, finalizing and confirming orders. And once we have the confirmation that we get from this tool, which is the status, right, which is success, right, then, right, if it's success, then after successfully, you finally try to provide with confirmation. Be like, hey, your order is confirmed. It should arrive in your estimated time. Thank you so much. And end the conversation polite, right? Now, hopefully you've got the high level idea of how we can set up a system like this. You then define your tools, the beta name, the quantity, the size, the variation. This is just basically telling the agent, prompting the agent what variables there are and what tools there are in this agent. You have the search menu tool, the create payment tool, the send SMS tool, and the inject POS, and just give some general rules, right? So hopefully that gives you an idea of like how we can think about setting up this system as well. Now you may ask, Edwin, this is just single order system. What if you actually want to order multiple things at once? Well, I think now that you've got an idea how to build this kind of single ordering agent, I actually encourage you to build your own. And let me give you a hint of how you can do some sort of multi-order system. Instead of thinking just kind of simplistic perspective of single variables like we did here, like just the beta name, size, etc., everything just single variables, you need to use some sort of data structure that can store a list of items that they want. If they want 2 pepperonis, I want 1 Hawaiian pizza, I want 2 barbecue pizza, right? This is a list of items, and therefore you need something called an array as a data structure. The way to think about is have a cart object. And the way you can define a cart object is define an array. An array is basically a list of items, right? A list of different items. It's like a shopping cart. It's like, I want an orange, an apple, a glass of milk, for example, right? That's a list of items. And from here, you can define what each list actually contain. It can contain the pepperoni pizza, large pepperoni pizza, 1 large pepperoni pizza costs $99.99, the variation ID, etc. And the second thing the user wants is barbecue chicken. They want 2 barbecue chicken, medium sized. It costs $33.98, for example, and you got the variation ID, right? So this is a hint that I would give you is like, think about data structure and think about how you can store the different items as a list inside an agent like this, right? So all in all, I hope this has been helpful. Now, if it's a little bit too confusing, or like if you're a restaurant owner or business owner and you want to set up something similar, some sort of this kind of this, or if you want to set up some sort of this voice agent system for your business, we actually do a free 30-minute discovery call with me and my team where we can actually go over your business use case and see if it's a good fit. So you can just use the link in the description to book a call to work with me and my team. And if you like this kind of content, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And yeah, hopefully you've learned something from this one, and I'll see you in the next one.